One of the biggest challenges that we run into in IT sales, people always say, who is your largest competitor? That's not the biggest person that you're going after, though. The hardest one is status quo, right? Beating out status quo, what people are already used to. And the way that you do that is by coming up with a very strategic approach of understanding the why behind everything, to go after it and know where you can help and who it's going to impact. And on top of that, getting the multiple levels of decision makers to the table so everybody's bought in together. So
everyone, I'm Kyle First, and welcome back to the MSP Pipeline. Today's guest didn't start in IT. He started in plumbing sales, then telecom, then lifecycle management. And over the last 12 years, he's built his career inside infrastructure, third-party maintenance, and enterprise hardware solutions. Today, he's the VP of sales at Bellata, 100% channel-driven infrastructure lifecycle specialist, where he built and now leads a top-level strategic executive team. He doesn't just talk about sales leadership, he still sells alongside his team. Let's welcome Michael Patterson to the show. Thank you for being here, Michael.
Hey, Kyle, really appreciate you having me on today.
I love that. I'm glad you're here, by the way. So you didn't really grow up in data centers. You started in plumbing sales. You know, that is definitely not the typical path into enterprise hardware. So
Nope.
What would you say plumbing sales taught you that still applies to enterprise lifecycle sales today?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. There's always going to be something, right?
Yep.
The one thing in plumbing sales, it's always, you got to continue to learn, right? It's not just a pipe and a wrench and go. There's always different moving parts, and everybody likes to have the way that they like to do things. So, you know, really applying that to tech sales, right? That's really where you lean into that and understand, like, nothing's ever the same. It's not just one blanket statement that's going to solve all problems. It's about understanding and learning what people's needs are and helping them achieve those needs in the tech side that allows them to really thrive.
So how long would you say you've been working in tech sales nowadays?
So even in telecom, like I got my start in telecom. So it's been, and tech sales, I did IoT of things, like Internet of Things. So really understanding that side of things. So that's really, I got my start. So I would say it's been now 15, 16 years in the tech side of things. So yeah, it's been a stepping stone, which again, I do enjoy the tech side a lot better than the plumbing. It's
a whole different industry right there. So
it is. Look, wide discrepancy of change.
Moved into telecom and then, you know, third-party maintenance. What would you say clicked for you?
You know, it's one of my strong beliefs is just helping others. And the thing about technology is it's always evolving, right? And it's a part of everybody's lives. And so being able to really grow and help others with it, where with plumbing, it was, you have different projects that you work on, and yes, you are helping people, but it's not ever really evolving, to say the least. It kind of stays the same, where the evolving of tech really grabs my attention, allows me to get into it with people and understand. And there's always new projects to be had to help people. So for me, that's where it really jumped out to me, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, you know, early on, was there anything that, you know, you misunderstood about that type of sales compared to plumbing sales, at least?
Oh, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, right, when you're young and dumb and naive, right, it's one of those things that I like to learn from by mistakes, right? Get going and running. And when you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. It's about taking it and turning it into a positive and understanding why and how you failed. And from there, applying that to your next sale and making sure you don't do the same mistake twice.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to keep messing up, right?
No, you won't make it far in this industry if you keep messing up.
No, you definitely won't. But, you know, going off Balata, right? You know, Balata is 100% channel driven. That's rare. Yep. Most competitors chase direct revenue while claiming to love partners, but you've committed to the fully channel model. So why go 100% channel instead of, you know, hedging with direct?
Yeah, you know, it's one thing because we are in lifecycle management, right? So when you look at an IT bucket of spend, a lot of it's going to need to be around security, compliances, things of that nature. Within the lifecycle management, we can adhere to all those, but we're typically just a little bit of a drop in the bucket at certain times, right? Now, we can help the larger projects move along. And so if we can attach ourselves to those folks that are working on those larger projects, it's helping everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so what I mean by that is, one, we get to work with the people that already know what's going on because they are the partner. And so at the end of the day, just aligning to the people who are actually working on the bigger projects allows us to do our job better, which in turn allows us a better job for the client as well. And then on the second page, if they already have a relationship with a
Mhm.
partner, why should we try and steal away that relationship? If they like working with somebody, we know they're going to go ask them for a quote as well. So why not just work together and get a good best price for everybody and find a solution that works for everybody?
Yeah. And like, have you found any, misunderstandings about like partners thinking about infrastructure life cycle compared to, I don't know, plumbing, I guess, you
Yeah.
know?
No, yeah, no, it's interesting because the differences for us that we see a lot of times, right, is a lot of people want to do life cycle management. And
Mhm.
the differences between Bellata and some of the others, and for me, the reason why I chose Bellata is because it's a full package solution for life cycle management. And that's where for me it was like in plumbing, it rolls downhill and you can put the SH in front of the it and understand what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
even in IT, that goes downhill. But where I get to come in and align with everybody and help them, that's what's the best part for me, right? And so at the end of the day, pointing to the partner and saying, hey, you might be missing out on dollars over on this area here
Yeah.
simply because you sold the refresh. But what are they doing with the gear that they're getting rid of? I can help with that.
Yeah.
We can help with the ITAD and the decom and the ripping out and all of that. And so it's a full package solution for the client then, and it allows the partners to gain a stronger relationship with their end users because they're providing them a full package solution now opposed to just a partial package and leaving them to do the cleanup on their own.
Hmm. And what would you say makes a partner strategic versus transactional?
Oh, great question. Are you saying from the terms of to the end user or to me here at Balata?
I was going to see how you wanted to go about that, but we
Yeah.
could go with Bellata right there.
So with Bellata, it's more of a, hey, how are we working together, right? With my sales teams, what we're going to do is we're going to understand who they're working with, what areas they're working in, and then package a solution that's going to fit them and help them even break into some of those areas where they may not be. On the flip side, for the end user, right, being that strategic and not just a paper pusher, are you willing to have some of the conversations with the end user to make them think differently? Because one of the biggest challenges that we run into in IT sales, people always say, who is your largest competitor? You can name the different OEMs, you can name the other TPM sellers or lifecycle management sellers. That's not the biggest person that you're going after, though. The hardest one is status quo, right? Beating out status quo, what people are already used to. And the way that you
Mhm.
do that is by coming up with a very strategic approach of understanding the why behind everything to go after it and know where you can help and who it's going to impact. And on top of that, getting the multiple levels of decision makers to the table so everybody's bought in together. So that's for a strategic approach. It's more about understanding where they're at, why they're there, and where they're trying to go, and how you can really implement a solution that's going to help them get to that further goal, opposed to just saying, "Hey, this is what I have," showing up and throwing up.
I'm assuming you've dealt with a lot of relationships with a lot of different clients. So, what would you say a channel relationship actually breaks down and it's at its breaking point?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a two scenario part question, right? The first one being that if you're not bringing any value, right? Like if you're working with
Mhm.
channel partners, the biggest thing that they want is they want a true partner. They don't just want somebody coming out hands out saying, "Hey, what renewals do you have coming up?" Right? That's they already own that business. Why would they
Mhm.
turn that business over to you? That's not necessarily a help for them. Where with us, we're going to go in and say, "Where can we help you break in and become the incumbent?" And that's where that aspect can really break down is if you're just constantly hassling, if you're sitting there just asking for hands out, not providing any real partnership relation,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are you bringing to the table as a partner? That's my biggest thing. It's got to go both ways. And then on the second hand, where I have seen it go down is people like in other lifecycle management partners, because they're not 100% direct, they'll
Mhm.
go and take stuff direct for one deal, which can ruin an entire large partnership. So it makes no sense, right? Like, again, like the hardest part with sellers sometimes is they only see the small picture and they don't look at the big picture. And that's why when we came here, or when I came here, and we decided like we're going to be 100% channel because we don't want that to happen. It's negating the potentials of what could happen by going after and protecting what we know we can do.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. It's nice to, have a long-term relationship with the client at the end of the day as well. You
Yeah,
don't want any
exactly.
breaking barriers at all. So would you
Exactly.
say, are partners more under pressure compared to maybe a couple years ago?
Um, so under pressure, there's definitely always pressure, right? And it's always a
Yeah.
changing market. And so more pressure than a couple of years ago. I would say they're probably underneath the same pressures as a couple of years ago because during COVID, there was a lot of um, shipments not being made, timetables being longer than what was expected. And funny enough, we're getting into that scenario now with memory, RAM, all of that, and it's just taking longer for people to fulfill orders. And so, are they under pressure to perform? Absolutely, and they're under pressure to perform for their clients because their clients are signing off on projects and things are coming in that they don't have control over the timetable, right? Sometimes if it's being shipped from international and then you have tariff costs that are rising. So now that rises. So there's all sorts of pressure on them right now, from budgetary constraints to timetables of when stuff's going to be delivered to, hey, they don't even get paid until their services are installed, right? And so now all of a sudden they're feeling pressure at home as well because they're like, hey, I sold this, but I may not get paid for 6 months to a year on it. So all different types of pressure for the partners out there.
Of course, I can't even imagine right there. But you've built an executive strategic sales team, in under 2 years. So
Yep.
that's not just selling, that's recruiting, training, and building culture. So when you hire a seller, what would you say you're actually looking for in a seller?
Yeah, that's a great question. One, somebody that it can like they're in charge of themselves, right? And what I mean by that is we as leaderships, we're here to help people meet their goals and really achieve what they're doing. But what we also do is we want to make sure that we're part of the sales process as well, because we want them to understand like we're doing the job as well. So for the folks that I look for that are to join Bellata, right? Typically it's going to be somebody that is self-motivated, right? Very good with their calendar, because again, in sales, if you're not good with your calendar, you're probably going to be poor time management, and that's not going to be good for anybody. Responsiveness, right? Responsiveness is something that I always look for with people, because the quicker you are to get back to somebody, even if it's just to say, hey, I've got this and I'm working on it, that matters, right? And that's just being a good partner relationship seller, right? And that's the other thing is, what is their demeanor, right? And what I mean by that is, are you relationship based? Now, I will say people don't buy from people they like. People buy from people they trust, right? But
Yes,
you can't
sir.
trust somebody without liking them, right? And so it's, are you able to build a relationship? Are you a trustworthy person? And that's where, like, with our interview process for us, we like to just have conversations, right? Like it's about getting to know somebody, because if they want to get to know us, we know they're going to want to get to know the client as well. So it goes a long way to have those capabilities. And then the number one thing that I tell anybody is competitiveness, right? You're in sales. You got to have a certain drive to go after it and want to win. And if you don't have that, you might just be looking to make that paycheck. And again, I don't think anybody's in sales just for the regular check. They want the commission check. So it's all about how can you maximize that commission check.
So yeah, I was honestly going to ask you about that. Besides the money aspect, how do you figure out what truly drives someone?
Yeah, great question. As a leader, part of what my goal is to understand how people tick, right? And one of the things that I always used to ask in an interview, or even to new hires, is like, hey, why are you in sales? And they'll always be like, oh, I want to make the money. Well, it's not about the money. It's about, what do they want to do with that money? How does it impact their lives? How does it impact their family? What would it mean for them? What are some of their big goals? And that way you can tap directly into that with them and always have a point of what they're trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, if I take care of my team, they're going to take care of me. That's the way that I look at it. And so I have my own goals, but my goals start with my team and them hitting their goals. Because if that happens, I know my goals will fall into place.
That's great. Who doesn't want some goals they can achieve along the way, right? So
absolutely.
Going back to your story, right? What would you say was harder, closing enterprise deals or building the team that closes them?
Oh, man, I think building a team that closes them, right? And it goes back to that portion of understanding who somebody is and how they sell. Because the other piece is, like, I want them to come to me if it's a large deal, right? A large enterprise deal, and say, hey, what are we missing here? Or, hey, who are we missing here? Because again, you got to have everybody at the table and then getting us introduced. So I get to be a part of those conversations all the time as well. And they're great conversations, but it's really strategizing around the deals to understand what we're missing. And if you can understand what you're missing, then all of a sudden you can go call that out and figure that out so you can win the deal down the road. So I think building the team and helping them achieve, right, that's always going to be its own, separate from the enterprise deals that you're working on your own self as well. Because I have to ask myself the same questions where I have my owners ask me when I'm working one of these deals, those questions. So it's always checks and balances.
Yeah. And like, did you ever have a moment where you realized you had to stop being the top sales rep and, basically start being the leader?
All the time. I mean, that's just part of it, right? So again, it's all about the calendar for me, right? Like I have days blocked out on my calendar where it's more about deep diving into the leadership, but my team knows they can call me anytime, right? Then on the flip side, on my days where I'm putting my hat on and I'm the seller, like I'm nose deep into what I'm doing and I'm focused on that. And again, I'll respond to emails in terms of, hey, I've got this, I'll get back to you. But my time blocks to me are a sacred goal, right? Like it's going to allow me to achieve my goals, and I'm not going to take away from those time blocks just to go out and do something. And if it is needed for me at that time, like put it on my calendar so I can move my time blocks. So it's just reorganizing and staying aligned with what my beliefs are.
Yeah, of course. And like going back to your team, like when one of your reps has a bad month or a bad quarter, how do you coach them through it?
Bad months and bad quarters are going to happen, right? It's sales. Some things don't always come to fruition. And the beautiful thing about IT sales is no deal's ever truly lost. So what I mean by that is if you play in the lifecycle management space like we do, there's going to be something else that comes back around. So one, it's about understanding why we lost, right? And just working with them to understand why and celebrating the red, right? Meaning, where did we miss? One, that's coaching for me as well, because that means I missed something. Two, if it's time frames, did we have the right people involved? Did we have the right time frame, right? And understanding all of that. So it's not that it's ever lost. It's just about understanding that way you can better yourself for next time. And that's the thing, is success isn't an easy path. Success is a path where you're going to have a lot of losses, and it's perseverance over time that allows you to keep on going. And that perseverance eventually turns to wins, and then those wins just snowball.
Yeah, the wins are the best feeling, but I love the feeling of rejection. I think that's what drives me the most of anything in life.
100%. Yep.
Right. But looking back at your strongest revenue year, what would you say actually caused it?
Are you saying from a leadership perspective or from an individual contributor? For me personally?
Individually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think actually what you just said, right? Taking rejection. I mean, I remember one of my strongest years ever was as an individual seller, right? And it was great because there was a lot of cold calling. And that's like, you could send emails, you could do LinkedIn, but I was a dialer, right? And for every no, how many no's can I get before I get a yes? And then almost challenging myself, can I get better? And one of the things that I would do, I remember this, is I would call, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't leave voicemails. I'm like, well, why? Right? Like, it still puts your name out there. And if you know how to do a voicemail correctly, you might get a call back, right? You always might get a call back, but you're bettering your chances. And it was funny because I remember I used to go home, I'd give a pitch to my wife, and she'd be like, yeah, it's and I'm like, okay, I definitely need to change it. Like, if I can't get you to say yes to me, like, how am I going to get somebody else? It's just self-reflection, right? I used to call and leave myself voicemails, and then I would listen to my voicemail and be like, oh, that sounded terrible. And then I would change it. So it's where there's just like little tips and tricks, like repeating somebody's name multiple times, saying your number twice, right? And being slow in what you state, because a lot of times you get on there, your heart starts racing, and you're just like, oh, this is like a Bellata day, and you just go, right? And it's like, no, that's, you got to make sure that you're calm, you're in the moment, and you're there to help. So that's, I mean, my strongest year, like just going through some of those rejections, saying, all right, what do I need to do to get better? And always looking at negatives as a positive, right? Never being defeated, always willing to grow, which I think has really helped me in my transition into leadership over the years as well, right? Like, you're not going to win every deal. What do you need to do differently? How can you celebrate the red and really continue to move forward?
Yeah. And like, I know you're a family guy. I know you got a family and all. And how do you balance everything? Like, I know, like, it's probably nice to be able to go maybe watch a kid's game or something like that, but how do you balance work life and personal life?
Yeah. For me personally, again, it all boils down to that calendar. If it's not
Yeah.
on my calendar, it's not happening. So I actually coach 2 football teams as well for my sons. And so
Nice.
for me, like it's got to be on my calendar. And if I try and typically book like a month out for my travels, right? So I know if I'm going to be gone, I can get the assistant coach to cover for me, kind of go over everything I want to go over with. Um, my son's got a recital coming up that I've got to go to. My wife put it as soon as she got the email, she put it on my calendar because she knows if it's not there, I might be traveling. Like I know I have to be home on that day, right? And then even like at home, like when I'm at home, there's gonna be times where I put my kids to bed and I go back down and knock things out on the computer. The nice thing is we always have our phones on us, right? And you can
Yeah.
send an email from your phone and always be checking. So even if I receive an email during my family time, I'll reply back to the client, hey, I've got this and I'm working on it, right? And just know like I'll get it back to you. And from there, as soon as I'm out of that family time, it's head down back again. Like, hey, let's get this stuff knocked out really quick and get back to where I can either one, go to sleep. Because typically after my kids go to bed, I go to bed. So it's, I got to get that beauty rest sometime. Or it's,
That's great that you make time for everything in your life, which is definitely important, of course. But, most people understand MSPs, help desks, backup, Microsoft 365, but you operate underneath that, right?
yep.
Maintaining enterprise hardware after warranty, managing migrations. You're not running the IT. You're maintaining and extending the foundation under it. So why do you say companies delay hardware refresh decisions?
Yeah, that could be anywhere from they just don't have the budget, right? Because a lot of the
Right.
times what people don't understand, like they always see people. Obviously, the OEMs always want you to upgrade your gear, right? After 3 years, oh, you should upgrade your gear. Well, why? Right? If it's still working, I live by the motto: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? My hunting shotgun, it works. I ain't sitting there trying to clean it every single time I shoot it. So it's just one of those things that with them, if it's not broke, don't fix it. The mentality I live
Mhm.
by is that because ripping and replacing is a
Mhm.
process, right? And then sometimes apps don't always work the same way, right? And so you'll have like a lot of point of sale systems that are all on some old IBM
Yeah.
gear, but it's because it works. Because if you upgrade it, those systems ain't going to be compatible with the new system. So
Mhm.
all of a sudden it causes issues. And the beauty of it for the end user is they can get a fraction of the cost and they can actually allocate those costs towards other projects themselves.
Mhm.
Because Gartner talks about it being a 7 to 10 year life cycle on any of this gear typically, right? And so if that's the case, why do you have to go buy new at 3 years? You don't, right? There's other options out there. And then on the flip side of just cost containment, right?
Mhm.
With OEMs, their cost is typically you're going to have to see probably about a 5 to 20% increase every year over year that you renew it. Where with a third party maintenance lifecycle management company, it's going to stay flat across the board. So you actually know what your spend is and where
Mhm.
else you can allocate those dollars towards. And
Yeah,
then obviously
definitely.
timelines as well. Just
Yeah.
time frames right now are pushed out pretty heavy for a lot of gears. So that's where we can also be gap coverage.
What would you say is like the biggest misconception about third party maintenance?
Oh man, there's so many out there. So one that I get a lot, right? And
Uh-huh.
this is going to be typically more from like admins and things of that nature. They're
Yeah.
going to say, "Well, nobody's ever gotten fired for utilizing the OEM. No, nobody's ever been fired for using Bellata data either, right?" Like that's the thing is, it's one of those things like they don't know because they're conditioned not to know, right? They think what they're getting from the OEM is the top solution, when in reality, the OEMs are actually backlining to a lot of other lifecycle management partners, or on top of that, they are getting their parts from other lifecycle
Mhm.
management partners. So typically 3 years after a piece of gear has been released, they're actually reaching out to other vendors to get parts for those because they're no longer stocking them on their shelves. So that's why
Wow.
costs typically increase. So it's essentially cutting out the middleman. And then the other part is gray market parts. Everybody wants to say gray market parts, but to what I just alluded to, the OEMs are actually contacting vendors like us to get parts for their system. So if they can buy it from us, why shouldn't the end user be able to buy it from us? It's just the way that they like to control the scenario. The market's definitely being commoditized, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's from the OEMs utilizing other lifecycle management partners to a lot of the larger lifecycle management partners merging together, right? They're seeing it as, hey, we can merge it, and then they hit people with renewal increases, right?
Mhm.
Because they figure, hey, we're the largest on the market. who's going to stop us, right? And that's where I love being nimble and agile at Bellata, right? Our name literally comes from the sap of the Balata tree down in South America. It means it's the rubber tree. It's flexible, right? Like we want to be flexible. And for us, our differentiators are really leaning into that flexibility for one, our partners, two, for the end users, and three, just in our services in general and being that full lifecycle management partner. You shouldn't have to go to 3 or 4 different vendors to get one project done when you could just go to one and make it really easy. And that's why we stick through the partnerships, because we want to make it easy on the end users.
Of course. And like, what would you say, what role does trust play when you're touching someone else's core infrastructure? You know?
Right. Yeah, no, trust is definitely everything, right? And with that, to that point of what you're saying, right, especially if it's a core, if it's running their stuff, right, there's gonna be certain things that are not the right fit for lifecycle management or managed services potentially, right? And those are the ones, it's having those upfront conversations and saying, hey, this is stuff I would actually keep with the OEM because of X, Y, and Z. It's the hybrid approach that really fits the model for folks, and leaning into where there might be an open platform to where they can go in and download updates freely. Or if they're not utilizing those updates and it's just sitting, we can run it, right? And so that it's just understanding where it's the best fit and having those conversations to really lean in.
Of course, and I completely get that. I want to talk to the sales leader right now, right? So what's something about leading sellers that, you know, nobody ever warned you about before you got into it?
Oh man, that's so this is actually one of my favorite questions. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot, right? And the one thing that people always think is, hey, as I get into leadership, it might get a little easier. That's not the case, one, right? Like, because you used to be responsible just for yourself. Now you're responsible for everybody. And the one thing that I learned pretty young, I had a great leader starting out, and it was, not everybody has the same personality. You have to tap in. If you want to be a good leader, it's understanding their personality and how they sell. It's not my way or the highway, right? It's about making the most of what somebody is and who they are. So I can say one thing. My ask is, if you're going to rip off and duplicate, don't say exactly what I say it as yourself, right? Like, meaning like, how would you say it? How would you deliver it? And just helping people understand that, or understanding how people like to be helped. Some people want to be led to an answer, where some people, if you give them the answer, they're just going to take it and run with it. And now they know the answer, right? So I think the hardest part was literally just understanding that it's all different personalities that you're dealing with now. And you have to be able to tap into each personality individually, and not just, hey, I was successful in sales, so I'm going to be successful as a leader. That's not the case at all.
Yeah. And like, how do you personally handle stress when the numbers aren't where they're supposed to be?
Oh, for me, there's a lot of cigars and lifting. No, it's it's about having honest conversations, right? It's about leaning in with the team and understand what are they missing? What do they potentially need? Why do they think we are where we are? And then also giving my feedback of why I think we are where we're at, and just leaning into those so you can course correct. And the number one thing that I see a lot of people do is like, and I was a sales leadership coach for a long time, or I'm sorry, a sales enablement coach for a long time, where I trained all the new hires. And the number of times you would just see people rip up their script and start brand new. And it's like, it's not about ripping up your script. It's about understanding how you're delivering it. Maybe it's about understanding what you're saying, where it could be wrong, opposed to what's going to be that word that grasps somebody's attention. Right. And so every single person's different in that. And that's where it's just, again, I go back to what I said originally too, of that's why it's the hardest. It's leaning into the different personalities.
Yeah. You got to be your own self when you're on the phone. So that's how I've always taught myself.
Make everybody your friend, right?
Right. At the end of the day, it's just, you're trying to build a relationship. So you got to start somewhere. And, you know, you moved from chasing income to defining success is providing for your family, right? So do you think that made you a better leader?
It was funny when I was an individual contributor, I was a completely different person, right? Because I was tailored after my own goal and just my goal, right? And that's what I define it as. Now I have a company goal, right? And what I mean by a company goal is I want to see our company succeed. And all of that changed for me when I had a family too, right? Like all of a sudden, it's not just about you, when you get married, is about you and the wife. And then all of a sudden, when you have kids, oh, now it's the family, right? And so, like, there's a lot of variables there that are very similar to me. And I would say, like, they've complemented each other each way as I've gone, because like when I had my first son, I was on the road a lot, and kind of tailored it down as I've had more kids, because at the end of the day, one, I need to be a part of the family. Two, I need to be a part of work, but I can do that while being a part of the family. It's not separate, right? I've got to be able to do both hand in hand, or otherwise I'm in the wrong position. Just plain and simple, right? And so it's leaning in and utilizing some of the stuff I do at work to utilize at home as well.
Yeah.
But it's always being there for anybody that I can be.
That's awesome. And that's how, you're doing a great job balancing them all, it seems like. So it's good to hear.
Trying. There's always hiccups along the way, no matter what.
And listen, we've had a great conversation, and this is going to be a two-part question to close us out. So
right.
If you could go back 12 years to when you first entered the industry, what advice would you give yourself? And then we'll get to the next part after that.
Yeah. Number one piece of advice I'd give myself is, 12 years into the industry, I would have a lot of issues with rejection at the beginning, right? It can create fear, and it's just pushing through that fear. And so if I would have taken my first 3 months and not let that crippling fear, I just wonder how many more meetings I could have set. And what I mean by that is, you get somebody that answers the phone, tells you to F off, and then slams the phone on you. Like, now I can laugh at it. I think that's what I'm like, that dude must be having a terrible day, right? Where before, when I was younger, I would be like, man, what did I say wrong? And I would self-reflect, opposed to just being like, that guy's having a bad day, right? Like, 9 times out of 10, they're just having a bad day, and they've received a lot of calls, and you're the first person they get to take it out on. And it's just, it's part of it, right? Like, just that rejection isn't necessarily always about you. It's more about the day that they're having. So don't be afraid. You could call that person back in a week and they might take a meeting, right? You just don't know until you try it.
That's why you got to keep reaching back out. But this is the last part of the question. So what advice would you give to the next leader trying to build something sustainable?
Yeah. One, finding the right people, right? Having the right people and understanding who you're hiring is really key. And then two, are you a leader, or are you a micromanager, right? Micromanagement's never going to drive people to want to work for you. You might get some results out of it, but you're going to have a lot of turnover. And can you say that you're 100% on hiring? I know I can't, meaning I've had my bad hires, right? Like, we're all in sales. Somebody might sell you in an interview, and then all of a sudden they might not pan out in the long run. And it's just understanding who you're hiring and what they need to be successful themselves, right? So going back to that multiple different personalities of who you're dealing with, just understand who they are, right? Understanding who they are and what's going to make them successful, that goes a long way.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, I like working people I like to be good conversations with, at least.
Be around. Absolutely. Yeah.
But Michael, listen, that was it. I just want to say thank you once again for hopping on today. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I'm excited to see the future that you guys got going at Bellata.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kyle, and I hope everybody has a blessed day. And if there's anything I can ever do, just let me know.
Definitely will. All right. Thanks, Michael.
See you guys. Bye.